everything.
It
Doppler
leads with-
world. That's Doppler world.
But let's go back to sports for a minute, because Mike Lynch, gotta love him, and I do, and Don Maxon now works for us here at Greater Boston. Lynch used to get so mad at me when I'd say, well, we got the research in, Lynch, and you're not going to believe this, because I tell you this every year, but this is what the research says.
Right.
2/3 of the audience turn off when the sports comes on. So that's why it always got moved lower and lower and lower into the newscast, to the point where they started putting it outside of the newscast. It went on at 11:30 to 11:35.
Right.
It wasn't counted in that half hour.
Yeah.
What made the difference there?
Well-
And this is a sports town.
You know what? I don't know, Em. All I can say is that my own personal approach was to try to appeal to people that had
That weren't sports fans.
that weren't sports fans, because I always knew that sports fans were going to watch. It was the people that weren't
Yeah.
sports fans, and I just could do it with, I thought, a sense of humor. It wasn't like a contrived thing. It was just who I was. So you just can only do what you can do. You can't call people up and say, hey, will you watch us tonight? Or go knock on their doors and say, come on, watch Channel 5, watch Channel 4 tonight. You can't do that. And one thing I've never done, I've never looked at tapes of myself, which was probably a big mistake. I probably could have really improved whatever I'd done. And I'd never look at the ratings. Now, Jack, God love him. Jack knows those ratings. He knows everything about every rating point. But that's just the way it is. Schwegler used to look at tapes of himself night after night after night. I don't know how he did it, but it's just too painful for me.
Bob, does this make you mad?
No. You know what? And I kind of said this in the paper. It's how you can be excited and sad at the same time. You know what? It's kind of a relief in a way, but it's sad. You know, you spent a good part of your life. It's not like I jumped around. It's the only market I ever worked in. It really is. I didn't go
You were
from
in New Hampshire?
Oh yeah, but Manchester, but
that
not in
counts.
television. It's not. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It's not like I went from Phoenix to Atlanta to Lexington or Cleveland to Boston. It was Boston. It's like the only market I've ever worked in. And I didn't go to. There was no training. I have a master's in education. Anything I did was by mistake. So it was like. So I have nothing to complain about, because I'm just lucky to. I'm not gonna. That sounds trite, but hey, I didn't go to school to become a sportscaster. I just got. It just was the path that took me down that road, and it just happened. And thank God Liz Walker was there, and they put her on TV, and they put me next to her to make her feel good and be comfortable. And I'm convinced that's why I got on the 6 and 11, because of her. And so a lot of this is all about luck, and I can never be mad that it came to this. But I'll say this. I thought about this for 30 years. I think anytime you're in this job, you always wonder how it's going to end and where it's going to end and what are you going to do after it. I don't know about the last question, but I do remember telling Monica Collins, the very tough critic of the Herald, when I first got the job next to Liz, I said, it just moves me one step closer to Soldiers Field Road, which meant the next step is out the door. But it took 30 years to get there. Now I'm just saying, it was always that edge of wondering, well, how's it going to end? When's it going to end?
How would you have liked to have ended?
Maybe my parents would have gotten rich, bought the station, and became CBS employees. And I don't know, Em. I don't know. Maybe this is the way it should have ended.
Well, I mean, the same thing essentially happened to Natalie, more on her terms. I mean, I don't think the station, I think she decided at some point that she should make this move. The station didn't say, oh, please don't go. But there was something about it that was more graceful, I have to say.
Yeah, well, I'm not very graceful, so it's all right.
No, I'm talking about the station.
Oh, you know what? Everybody's got their own. I mean, I think
Natalie came on the show, too.
Of course. Yeah. It's not. I don't know how to answer that. I think you just got to take things the way they come. This is okay. This is
It's okay.
It is okay.
You reacted the same way I did when you heard that CBS declared that it had nothing to do with any kind of a corporate mandate.
I'm kind of.
Do you
I was a
believe
little.
that?
No, I was a little stunned at that. You know,
Of course it
I'm
is.
not going to say they lied, but I said, how
will.
can that not be?
Yeah,
that's
patently laughable.
yeah.
I mean, it's just coincidental that every affiliate, which is O&O for people that owned and operated station, had these,
Right.
critical cuts of prominent anchor people this week.
Somebody had to misspeak along the line because it clearly was a national thing. It's, you're not up there. You don't know what goes on. You don't know what goes on in those stockholder meetings. It's
Meanwhile,
just,
you're
it is what
working-
it is. I remember Westinghouse. It was like a mom. We thought Westinghouse had owned washers and dryers and elevators and nuclear reactors, and we thought all the money we made at Channel 4 went to help those, washers and dryer divisions. And that we thought that was the big deal, and it turned out to be a mom and pop store. And now, went to Viacom and CBS, and it's just. I always thought working for an O&O would have been the greatest thing in the
Well, their
world.
stocks have just plummeted dramatically in the last 6
Well, I
months.
know
and
it's the whole thing. The writers, believe me, the writers' strike. I don't think we'd be sitting here today if the writers hadn't gone on strike. I could be wrong. I'm not blaming them.
Well, Bob, listen, we may have a sports opening here soon on Greater Boston. You never know. I mean, I've learned a lot since I've been a news director. I know what people like.
You're the best.
Bob, love you. And I won't be asking you when your last day is. I'll be watching.
I have no idea.
I didn't
If
ask.
I did, I wouldn't tell you.
Good night.
All right.
All right.
All right. Thanks.
When we continue, what will Seaport Square look like?